I have just made like a dip in the pool of my books right now, but I've just lost all interest in it. So sorry, Charlie, it's going. Also found it fascinating that celebrities don't lock their houses when they're out of town. I don't get it, but you know, to each their own. I bought it when I was trying to fix my life and didn't read half the books I bought to fix my life. I don't want to hear if any of these books are books I shouldn't get rid of. Just crazy. Hi everybody, it's Audrey and welcome back to Chapter and Converse and welcome to an unhaul video. I feel like finally, I've been talking about doing this and I feel like, just like with that Dark Academia TBR, as soon as I put a name on something, I just tank myself. So what I've decided is I'm gonna slowly start to unhaul books and I'm just gonna slowly show them to you guys. So I'm not gonna wait for some like, I have 50 books to get rid of, because that's just not me right now. So I'm gonna go through a handful of books that I have picked off my shelf recently to unhaul, and then I'm also gonna go through a few books that you might not have seen yet. So if you guys have checked out my Pango shop before, thank you very much. Super excited about that. I have personally purchased some books off of Pango that I was interested in, and I love being able to get them for a little bit less money. I love being able to do a good thing and be able to, you know, recycle the books. And also, you guys know I'm a big fan of like thrift books and Better World books. None of this is sponsored. But what I like about Pango is that you can get a better sense of the condition of the physical book that you are getting, because you can see the actual pictures and you can contact the seller and all that good stuff. So I am putting all of these books up. So if there's anything you're interested in, maybe you can snag it. And if you are here just for the unhaul and don't care anything about Pango, also totally cool. Watch me get rid of some books. So I'm not going to go into great detail on every single one of them because we would be here forever. But the first book I have is Grave Reservations by Sherry Priest. So I read this last year, and I feel like disclaim some of this by saying some of what I am unhauling are books that I've already read that I don't think I'm going to read again. And part of what I'm trying to do with like culling my collection is get it down to books that I love and would love to reread, books that I want to have in my collection forever, or books that I have not yet read but I'm still super intrigued by. So just to put a little bit of a caveat on it, but this is a cozy mystery. We have a woman who is kind of pitched as an accidental psychic, and she winds up pairing up with a Seattle police detective named Grady. And I very much enjoyed them. I like the dynamic. This reminded me of like a Hallmark movie and mysteries kind of a mystery. You get a great extended cast of characters. I said I wasn't going to talk about everything, but I am. There is a sequel to this that just came out this year as well, but very much enjoyed it. The next book I have is The Best of Friends by Lucinda Berry. I wound up DNFing this book last year, and originally it was a soft DNF, and I fully am DNFing it. I found the premise of this book to be intriguing, but the character soup at the beginning of this book just drowned me, and my pea brain couldn't keep it straight, so letting it go. Then I have Hollywood Homicide by Kelly Garrett. This is also, I would say, maybe like Hallmark cozy with like a little bit of an edge to it, so maybe more like the Aurora Teagarden books versus the TV show, like a little bit of edge, but nothing, no obscenities, no smut, nothing like that. But this is also the first in a series. I read this last year as well, and I definitely enjoyed it. So we have an actress named Dana Anderson, and she winds up trying to solve a hit and run case because there's a big reward for it, and she could use the money. So that's what that was about. Very much enjoyed it. Then I have Amy Gentry's Good as Gone. I always say gone as good. Good as Gone. Also read this one last year. Also enjoyed it. This was after 8 long years, an abducted daughter suddenly reappears, harboring deep secrets, and her mother wrestles with the ultimate question, do I really know my daughter? So Julie was kidnapped from her own bedroom when she was 13, and we wind up getting past and present timelines. I want to say we got multiple POVs in this as well. So this was definitely intriguing to me. It didn't totally go in the direction, I don't want to say I wanted it to, totally in the direction that I liked. I enjoyed the writing. I liked it, but I didn't love it. So I'm glad I read it, but somebody else can love it. Then I have The Weight of Lies by Emily Carpenter. Can you guys tell I went through my bookshelf of the books that I read in 2022? Again, liked it, didn't love it. This was kind of pitched as, I shouldn't say it was pitched as, this is a book within a book. We have a story behind her mother's best-selling murder mystery, just got darker and more dangerous. So we have a woman named Meg who is kind of looking into what inspired the events of her mother's best-selling horror book and kind of uncovers all these different secrets. I enjoyed it. It just also wasn't quite as dark in what I wanted it to be. So not a ding to the book, just like a personal preference taste. So liked it, won't read it again. Then I have You Should Have Known by Jean Hanff Korelitz. So this is the book that inspired that TV show The Becoming with Nicole Kidman and Hugh Grant that was on HBO. So safe to say that TV show took a lot of license with the book. So I wound up reading the book first when the show was coming out. I'd had this for a while. They couldn't be more different. I feel like maybe the first couple chapters of the book are true to what happens in the TV show, and then the TV show just takes its own direction. The TV show is much more dramatic, I feel like, and sinister than this is. This is like a very slow burn, I feel like, literary mystery. I enjoyed it. They couldn't be more different. So if you like the TV show, don't read this thinking it's going to be the same thing. If you haven't read the show but you enjoy her writing, I liked it. It's definitely very character study-ish, but I very much enjoyed it. And then what else do we have here? I have Everything Happens for a Reason by Mira Kirschenbaum. This is a self-help and motivation. I haven't read it. So I bought it when I was trying to fix my life and didn't read half the books I bought to fix my life. Let's just jump to the next one. Atomic Habits. I actually did read this one. I wound up doing this on audiobook. So I had dog-eared a couple of pages in this, which I have undone. That's true in a couple of these books. I'll note all that in case anybody's interested in that part of it. But this is basically an unread book. I enjoyed it. I feel like I'm trying to figure out what works for me when it comes to getting my life together and getting organized. And I just don't think I'm ever going to go back to this. There's some great tips and tricks in here. I don't discount this book in any way. I do feel like things compound and you have to start small. And this is the book where it talks about how, like, if you want to be able to run a mile, maybe the first step one day, maybe all you do is just put your sneakers on and that's as far as you can go, and then you take them back off and stop. Not saying that you're going to get to running a mile by putting your sneakers on and off every day and never stepping foot outside the door, but it's very much that how do you eat an elephant, one piece at a time. So there's a lot of great insight to this book. I just really enjoyed the audiobook of it. And again, I don't think I'm ever going to reread it. So next up, another nonfiction book is The Bling Ring by Nancy Jo Sales. I loved the delicious dish of this book. This is about the group of teenagers who, back in the early 2000s, robbed Paris Hilton, Lindsay Lohan, Orlando Bloom, Rachel Bilson, more than $3 million in stolen clothes, jewelry, shoes, and handbags. They literally just walked into these people's houses when they weren't there and partied at their houses and stole their stuff, and then wound up going on like MySpace and taking pictures of themselves in it and bragging to all their friends. So eventually they got caught. But it was really intriguing. I love me some celeb gossip, just big time. There was a Sofia Coppola movie called The Bling Ring that came out after. I don't think the movie was all that great, but this was the book that inspired the movie. And first there was a Vanity Fair article that Nancy Jo Sales wrote. Then she wrote the book. Then Sofia Coppola did the movie. So definitely intriguing, especially if you're a fan of like that time in Hollywood. I thought it was fascinating that this group of high school kids did this. Just crazy. Also found it fascinating that celebrities don't lock their houses when they're out of town. I don't get it, but to each their own. So next up is The Sea of Lost Girls by Carol Goodman. I read this as one of my dark academia books that I actually read last year. And again, it just didn't totally work for me. So there was a lot going on in this book, and I would have preferred to just stick with the dark academia mystery. So we have a son who calls his mom at like 2:30 in the morning for her to like come pick him up. He's soaking wet, and she just takes him home, no questions asked. And then the next day she finds out that his girlfriend has died, drowned, and it was near the spot where she picked her son up. So I thought this was going to be kind of Defending Jacob vibes, but we wind up getting sort of like mythology and like a deep dark story in the past and a whole bunch of other stuff. So I liked Carol Goodman's writing. I have more books by her, but I won't read this one again. Next up, I have another book from last year, Killing Kate by Alex Lake. So there's a serial killer on the loose and all of his victims look like you. I enjoyed this one. And it was creepy. It was definitely creepy. So she's on vacation and she comes home and girls start getting murdered in her town and they all kind of look like her. And it starts to become a thing of like, is it just a coincidence or is someone out to get you? And it was very intriguing for sure. So I enjoyed it. I've had this one for a while. And then I also read A Star is Bored by Byron Lake. So Taylor Jenkins Reid had recommended this. This is a fictionalized version, let me just highlight that, of a personal assistant to a Hollywood star, an icon, a best-selling author, an award-winning movie star. And Byron Lane used to be the personal assistant for Carrie Fisher. So he swears 10 Ways Till Sunday, this is not Carrie Fisher. But for me, it was really hard to read this book and not see Carrie Fisher in it. And some of it is really funny. Some of it is really sad and a bit heartbreaking. And there's definitely a real chemistry and a bond between the two of them, but it's also a very destructive relationship between the two of them. So again, I enjoyed it. I'm just not going to read it again. And then the last book I have from this box, I actually haven't read it, so I'm just letting her go. This is 29 Seconds by T.M. Logan. So this is It Doesn't Take Long to Get Revenge. I don't have anything against this. I'm just trying to operate under the, am I dying to read this? And if the answer is no, can I get it from my library? And if the answer is yes, then I can let it go. So mystery thriller, I haven't read anything by him. And this says, this thriller explores what happens when a split-second thought of revenge takes on a life of its own. So all it takes is a 29-second phone call. You'll have to tune in to find out. I don't know what that book is about. So I also wanted to just highlight a couple of books. I have another giant box here that are already up on my Pango site in case they're of any interest to you guys, and also I'm getting rid of them. I've just done this a little bit more piecemeal, so just to kind of give you guys a sense of what else I have weeded off my shelf, even though you can't tell. So I have two books from Lisa Scottolini. I have Everywhere That Mary Went and Legal Tender. These are both, I think, part of the same series. Mary D'Annunzio and Bernie Rosado. So I read Everywhere That Mary Went forever ago. I couldn't tell you anything that it's about. These are legal thrillers. I read a lot of Lisa Scottolini back in the day when I was like in my deep, dark Grisham, Richard North Patterson phase. Really enjoyed them. So I also have Sawkill Girls by Claire Legrand. This is another, I soft DNF'd it in 2021 thinking I would come back to it, and I don't have any interest in it, and I know I can get it from the library. So this is a YA kind of horror thriller, I think it's pitched as, and we follow Marion, Zoe, and Val. So their stories come together on the island of Sawkill Rock, where gleaming horses graze in rolling pastures, and cold waves crash against black cliffs, where kids whisper the legend of an insidious monster at parties and around campfires, where girls have been disappearing for decades, stolen away by a ravenous evil no one has dared to fight until now. So I want to say I got like halfway through this book. This is not a short book by any stretch, 447 pages. So I definitely made a good dent in this, and I was enjoying it, but I wasn't like desperate to get back to it. So I know this is beloved. Sorry guys, it just didn't totally work for me. And then I'm also going to get rid of The Breakdown by B.A. Paris. I haven't read any B.A. Paris. I've kept Behind Closed Doors because I know that's the one everybody says to read. But this has been on my shelf for years and I just haven't read it. So letting her go. I have Emma, A Modern Retelling by Alexander McCall Smith. My dad gave me this. He read it. He was over it, handed it off to me. I don't need to read Emma. I read it the first time around. I'm good. I also have The Hazelwood by Melissa Alpert. I 1000% purchased this back in the heyday, like the beginning of my booktube days, because it was so hyped, and I never read it. It's beautiful. This is one of those books I've kept for years because she's so pretty, but I've just lost all interest in it, so sorry, Charlie, it's going. And then I have The Ivies by Alexa Dunn. This is a prep school book. I read this in 2021, I want to say, when it came out. So liked it, didn't love it. It follows a group of kind of cutthroat girls called the Ivies, and they will do anything to get into Ivy League colleges. So what I wanted the book to be, and again, not punishing a book for not being what I want it to be. I thought we were going to follow the Ivies as they did all the horrible things to people, but we actually wind up meeting them like kind of after a lot of the horrible things have happened. But one of the students dies, whodunit, all that kind of stuff. So it was enjoyable. It was enjoyable. I hate to say like I'm finally unhauling. Finally Unhauling, Not That I Could Tell by Jessica Strouser. I've had this book forever and I just haven't read it. So she used to be the editor-in-chief at Writer's Digest. I used to go to a ton of Writer's Digest conferences, which actually, that's where I got some of these books. And I just thought this was going to be like great domestic thriller. And it's beautiful. Again, I keep these books because they're pretty and I just haven't read it. So she's written a bunch of books since this one. And this is about a group of neighborhood women gather around a fire pit to enjoy a Saturday night of laughter, shared secrets, and some cocktails. A single newcomer, the imperfect mom, the newborn parents, the military wife, the almost divorcee. By Monday morning, one of them is gone. An innocent night of fun has shocking repercussions. So again, I've heard good things about this book and I just know I can get it from the library if I feel very, very desperate to read it. So it kind of feels like a Leanne Moriarty-ish type of book, but I don't know if it's as, I don't know. Yeah, I feel like Leanne Moriarty can be dark. I feel like she can go dark. I'm also getting rid of A Stranger in the House by Sherry LaPena. So I've read a bunch of her books that I've enjoyed. I have heard kind of mixed bag on this and I just sort of lost interest in it. So I've kept all her other books. I know she has a new book coming out this year too, which I'm excited for. And then I have The Plea by Steve Kavanaugh. This is, I think, the second book in the Eddie Flynn series. So 13 is book 4 in that series, which is the one that I loved. It's the first one that I read. I picked this up thinking I was going to go back, and I'm just going to keep moving forward with Eddie Flynn. I've heard good things about the beginning books, but I just know myself. And I don't think I'm ever going to go back to restart this. So The Defense is the first book. And then we have The Plea. I don't know what book number 3 is, but I always recommend 13. So feel free to jump in on book 4 because pretty much everybody I know has done just that. Okay, I told a bit of a lie. The Unwanted Guest by Sherry LaPena, I'm also unhauling. I did read this one. This is like very Agatha Christie and Then There Were None vibes. We have a group of strangers who wind up staying at an inn up in the Catskills. Snowstorm comes, everybody is stuck there. Somebody is murdered, who did it, all the things. So there were definitely things I enjoyed about this book. There was one thing in particular, I was like questioning a choice made by some of my characters in this book, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the ending of it. I was satisfied with it, but it's not one that I will read again. And then I'm also going to let go of Camilla Way's Watching Edie. I've also had this book for a very long time. I don't know, just sometimes I feel like it's not unusual for a book to be of huge interest to you and then over time just your interest wanes. So I think this is like a little bit of a stalker kind of a situation. And yeah, somebody's been watching Edie, waiting for the chance to prove once again what a perfect friend she can be. So creepy-ish, stalker-ish. Somebody's watching you. That's what's happening in that one. Also, I have Get Off Your Butt by Sean Stevenson. How to End Self-Sabotage and Stand Up for Yourself. Bought a lot of books. Did not read them. Haven't read it. Interest has waned. And then the last one I have here is Lisa Scottolini's Exposed. This one I haven't read. I actually won this or was given this as like a participant. Like several years ago at a Writer's Digest conference, Lisa Scottolini was the spotlight guest and this book was handed out. So I always feel a little bit like about doing that. But this is a Rosato D'Annunzio novel. So they are the two ladies from the first two books I showed you guys. So if you guys are into that series, this book came out, I mean, this was years ago, 2017. So she's written a ton of books and she's written a ton more since then. And yeah, I really enjoyed her writing. And I love her as an advice giver and as an interview. If you guys have ever seen an interview with her, she's hysterical. I highly recommend it. And she gives amazing craft advice if you're in it for the writing advice. So that's where I am right now. I will continue to, I'm not gonna always do a video when I'm listing stuff, but I'll continue to do some videos for you guys when I start to get some books together. I have a long journey to go of going through books, and I did the book cart tours you guys would have seen so that I could start to go through books and unhaul them and reorganize them. If you guys figured it out, I still have not figured out how I want to do my shelves, so I've done nothing. And I've just sort of been doing other projects instead that need to get done. So it's not the biggest priority. It's more of just something I want to do. I've got bigger fish to fry right now. So anyway, there you have it. A bunch of unhauls. I don't want to hear if any of these books are books I shouldn't get rid of, because I'm really trying to get rid of books. But obviously, if there's something you're very passionate about, feel free to let me know. And until next time, I will see you guys in another video. I have filmed a haul video also. It's not as big as this, trying to counterbalance all the things. So that'll be coming up soon for you guys. And then some more stuff. Some more stuff is coming your way. So if you haven't already subscribed, feel free to do that. You can hit that little alarm bell too and let you know when some good stuff is coming or when new stuff is coming. And I will see you in that new stuff. So take care, everybody. Have a great day. I hope everyone is doing really, really well. And I'll see you guys in another video really soon. Bye, everybody.